Hey guys, Mac of the Toy Guy here. I've left it about a week or so just to chew over the Masters of the Universe movie a bit. Got to tell you, absolutely loved it. Thought it was great. I don't know what so many of the harsh critics are going on about. I think it's a really cool movie. I think it hits back to what we wanted from the very first Masters of the Universe movie. We got to see that in 1987 with Dolph Lundgren. It was cool that he made a cameo as well. But anybody who loves the toys, loves collecting the toys, love the Filmation cartoon series, I think they were pretty happy with it, but obviously everyone's going to pick it. You're never going to get the perfect movie. He-Man wasn't buff enough, and Skeletor's voice, and all this sort of stuff. We've heard it. Tell you what, I like Skeletor's voice. I thought Jared Leto played a fantastic Skeletor. It was interesting to see how he was going to go because we've seen him as a gangster Joker. He sort of Jared Leto'd up that performance. So the fact that he's done this Skeletor was actually pretty cool. Nicholas Galatzine, however it is that you want to pronounce his name, I thought he did a pretty good He-Man as well. I think one thing people need to understand is if you're comparing that He-Man to the Filmation series He-Man, then you've got to look at the fact that he was quite a seasoned He-Man throughout most of that series. So from 1981 through to 1987, he was a pretty buff He-Man, and he become more seasoned. I think the fact that we've seen him with the Power Sword for the first time, be He-Man for the first time, don't expect him to do 3,000 reps on the bench press and whatever. Literally, the dude was a boy fantasizing about swords. Next minute, all of a sudden he's He-Man. Do you expect him to be fully buff? Maybe. Maybe it's something that the creators will look at down the track when Travis Knight does another version, and hopefully they've enlisted Travis Knight to do another version, because I'll tell you what, a sequel would be awesome, and I think they've done a pretty amazing job. Thought Teela was fantastic. I thought Idris Elba was unbelievable as well. I think it was really cool how they played a bit of a different dimension with him, making out that he'd sort of felt like he'd failed and he'd turned to the alcohol and whatever else. As I said, there's spoilers in this one, so if you haven't seen the movie, turn it off now and watch this later. I just thought that the Easter eggs were absolutely phenomenal. I was going to write them all down, but just the ones that come off the top of my head. In the final battle with Skeletor, the Thunder Punch, and actually moving to the music. Speaking of the music, I thought Brian May being involved in that soundtrack and a couple of those songs was just absolutely phenomenal. And that barbarian-esque style rock almost reminded me of like a Brutal Legend style thing. Just very, very cool stuff indeed for the rest of the soundtrack. So I thought it was put together extremely well. I love the fact, and a lot of people have been running this down, I love the fact that they said that 10-year-old Adam actually chose the name for his own toys. I thought that was kind of cool. I think for such an amazing, successful toy line, if Motu and Mattel could have had their opportunity to do it all over again, they might have picked different names for their characters. But let's be honest, they worked. Fisto and even He-Man is just insane. And I think towards the end, where we heard the words He-Man for the first time as a name he gave himself, I just thought that was pretty cool, and it was funny. A few people picked on the humour in this one as well, which I don't quite get. I think the TV show, the cartoon series, was pretty campy, and it wasn't a surprise to me, and I was happy to see the humour in this one rather than just see a really serious movie with this barbarian guy fighting this guy with a skull face. Now, I'm an absolute larrikin, and I love the naughty stuff, but I've got to say I just didn't believe the sexual innuendo was suited to the movie. I think they could have left it out. It could have been as good. I think when they make terms like ream job and these sorts of things, I was like, okay, where the hell did that come from? And just a few of the bits and pieces that probably weren't really needed. I didn't mind the swearing, where they're just about to swear and then it gets cut off with something and it leaves the audience member to try and work out what was going to be said. I didn't mind that as such. I think we've seen that in many movies before in different franchises. But I think just the sexual innuendo probably didn't need to be there. It was never really there for the Filmation series. It wasn't there in the 87 film. And it's certainly not there in the toy lines or anything like that. So did they need to do that for the mainstream audience or the Johnny-come-latelys? Maybe they felt like they did. I thought the movie was actually pretty fine without it. But some amazing Easter eggs. There was some pause scenes there. If you were able to look in the background, you would have seen Merman in one of those scenes. I don't know if anybody managed to pick that up. And just a few of the comments. The homage to Laser Light He-Man and Laser Power Skeletor, I thought were pretty cool as well if you happen to miss those. Roboto was an interesting one for me. I think Roboto, the fact that it was such a big, bulky character, when if you've got Roboto in any of the toy lines, Roboto is pretty much within the scale, the 5-inch scale, 5.5-inch scale that you see, obviously, in the vintage as the other figures. So that one was a little bit of a concern to see Roboto as such a really big figure, and I thought, how are they going to pull this off? But it kind of worked. It was still quite a charming character. The fact that it was played by a female, or voiced by a female as well, I actually thought was pretty cool. Just because it just gave a bit of a sensitivity to it. I thought there was actually a bit of comedy in the fact that it was like a Rosie from the Jetsons style, housework robot, service bot, whatever it was that they called it, domestic bot, and that had actually been reprogrammed from being the battle bot that it was and gave it the opportunity to be the battle bot. I thought the really cool Easter egg with that one was where the chest plate ripped off and we got to actually see the clear torso with the cogs for us toy geeks that just wanted to see Roboto with that clear torso, which is pretty awesome. So, look, I had an absolute ball with it. I thought Snake Mountain was done well. I thought they could have done a little bit more with Snake Mountain. It certainly did show the vastness of Snake Mountain once they got inside it. It did look a little bit small. They choose to stay away from the wolf's head look. Obviously went with the snake look, which was cool. I think there was a good father-son story there as well, for those that miss their dads, or those that feel like they haven't got enough time with their dads or whatever else. I thought that was actually really cool and really sentimental. And there's a real father-son, father-daughter theme throughout the whole thing. When you look at Man-at-Arms and Teela, and you look at the fact that she was pretty embarrassed by Man-at-Arms because he'd forgotten the warrior that he once was, and he'd forgotten what he stood for, and she managed to still stand for those things that her father used to stand for. And towards the halfway through the movie, he started to realise who he was and what he was about. Fight scenes, phenomenal. Choreography, amazing. I've seen a couple of the making of videos. Trapjaw, absolutely brilliant. Spike-Ore, just really cool. I was worried about Spike-Ore. I sort of thought, what are we going to end up with Spike-Ore here? But I think a couple of the jokes, particularly where they throw Spike-Ore up and he gets stuck in the ceiling because he's covered in spikes, I think that was actually pretty cool as well. For me, it was fantastic to see Orko, and as I said, spoilers, so just be careful with this, but in the end credits of the movie to actually see Orko, I thought was awesome, where he sort of came in. He always comes in and gives you that little lesson towards the end. That's the lesson that you take with you on Saturday morning to hopefully have a better life as a 10-year-old kid. And we used to always wait for those little lessons, or some of us would turn it off because we didn't want the boring life lesson stuff and whatever, so you'd turn it off. I thought the 4 non-blondes, actually having that in there from the meme, was super cool as well. I thought that was a bunch of fun. And also the meme with the actual rainbow graphics and everything as a part of that meme was a cool Easter egg. And then even the standing back with the hands on the hips and laughing, which a lot of those Motu episodes actually ended with the hands on the hips and sitting back and just laughing in a circle. The fact that they sort of had that as well, I thought that was pretty awesome. As far as the She-Ra thing, it was quite interesting that they chose to go She-Ra with the second end credits, particularly if there isn't a movie planned, and there could actually be something that they're looking at, because I know they've done costume design and whatnot, so there could be something in that. But after watching Kevin Smith's animated series, I wondered, okay, surely they're not going to use She-Ra, because they obviously used that Hordak story, the Princess of Power story, to sell the next animated part of what's supposed to be a trilogy with Kevin Smith. So I was interested to see that and just went, okay, Kevin Smith's already kind of done that. That's interesting. Is that going to be a teaser so we all go, wow, there's going to be a She-Ra movie? Or is it literally just something that may not ever happen, but a cool way to end it, because straight away, you know, the Princess of Power story, you know, the story with Etheria, you know, the story with the Horde and Hordak, and you can piece it together yourself. So maybe somebody knows some more information on that one than what I do. And then at the end, I really wanted to see Scareglow, but I didn't at the same time. And the reason I wanted to see Scareglow was because Scareglow is probably my favourite character, the ghost of Skeletor, spirit of Skeletor. He was a cool toy, he glowed in the dark. For us Motu collectors, Scareglow is one of the more expensive Motu toys, so if you happen to find one at a garage sale, you've made yourself anywhere between $300 to $600 or $700 if he's complete, which is pretty cool. So we all like Scareglow as part of the franchise, but then he did play a massive part in one of the Kevin Smith Netflix series episodes there, or quite a big story arc around the magical fight between Orko and Scareglow. So I sort of went, oh, look, if we don't see it, we've kind of already seen it. We can kind of do a what would happen if type of vibe. But because we didn't actually see it, and then when we saw that third end credit where Evil Lynn's come along, because bear in mind, Evil Lynn's fully magic, and she can put Skeletor back together, and depending on which versions of the comics you've read and which of the shows you've watched, we've seen him come back as Demo Man, I think was one of them. We've seen him come back in a few different reincarnations. Does he become a super version of Skeletor like Shredder did in the when he became the Super Shredder after the 1990 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie? Secret of the Ooze comes out, and this guy just literally looks like he's somebody's just cut sick with an angle grinder on a Colorbond shed. So wondering what that'll look like as far as Skeletor and what that new rendition is going to be. I hope they get Jared Leto. I know a lot of people are taking a piss and go, make sure you don't get Jared Leto. I hope they do get Jared Leto. I think Jared Leto, it was absolutely amazing in that. So I'll stand on my sword with that one, no pun intended, but very, very cool stuff indeed. The way that they sort of disguised the voice, and he did a lot of that acting in that actual suit himself, which I thought was cool. So his mannerisms were there. He's obviously studied that character as he did with the Joker for Suicide Squad and the other stuff that he's done. So I looked at that. When she's picked up that skull at the end of it, I've gone, okay, is it going to be a Skeletor throwback? Is she just going to put him back together as Skeletor? Do we then get a full Keldor explanation like we did once again in some of the Kevin Smith series with how he was turned to Skeletor, and a bit more information there, and you know who he was, where he was King Randor's brother, and this sort of stuff. And there's a couple of different storylines there depending on the universe, so there's quite a bit there. Or do we simply see Scareglow where he comes back as Scareglow, because Scareglow would be a very visual character for a new movie, but a lot of people not understanding Scareglow unless of course they've collected the toys or they've watched the Netflix series. So I think I don't know if we'll see like a Skelly God style character. That was another one of the Easter eggs, whereas he basically says, did you think I was going to turn gold? Obviously he turned gold in the 1987 Masters of the Universe movie. And that was a really cool part of that. And obviously, you could buy the gold figure and everything as well, I think, in the classic line. So there was some toy tiebacks there as well, which was pretty awesome. Anyway, so I've pretty much spoiled the movie for you. Let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know if there's any Easter eggs. There's probably heaps more that I missed. I saw there was certain characters in the pictures on the 10-year-old Adam's floor, and there was a couple of other characters there that we noticed that hopefully could turn up. I'd love to see Grislaw. I think I'd love to see Whiplash. I think it was pretty sad what happened to Mossman. I think he didn't play that much of a role. I thought he could have done a bit more. Beastman's bit was really cool. A lot of people have been running down Beastman's bit, saying, did we really need that much time on planet Earth? I was fine with the planet Earth stuff for the 15 minutes, more so than I was with that weird Avatar-y type crashed ship, almost Star Wars type vibe, where he lifts the ship up with one hand and there's almost a kiss like an episode of Dawson's Creek. And I'm like, what the actual fuck is this? Literally, what is this? 10 minutes, could have gone and refilled the Pepsi Max and whatever, but chose not to, chose to sit through it. But if they took that out in the movie, I don't think that we would lack anything from the movie. Maybe you disagree with that. Let me know your comments. Let me know if you saw any Easter eggs on that one that I may not have picked up. but people are just hitting it, saying there's over 76 Easter eggs that people are spotting at the moment, which is pretty cool. It is the movie I wanted to see when I was 7 years old, 8 years old, 9 years old, 10 years old. It is the movie that I prayed would come out in my 20s and my 30s. After the 1987 movie, it was the movie that I hoped they'd make. I was absolutely wrapped with it, disappointed with the box office. I think it did $55 million or thereabouts. Needs to do around about double that to really score on the scoreboard as far as the top movies of all time. I hoped that it would get there, but probably still just too obscure a title. Maybe if they called it He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, maybe, but I think the people that were chasing a Masters of the Universe movie knew exactly what it was like me, waiting there on day one and whatever. Just want to do a big shout out to the merch. I thought the merch was amazing. At our local place, which I think I might have showed you guys. If I haven't, I will show you. But we got the He-Man Skeletor and the popcorn buckets and everything, which were pretty cool. And then I've heard that America's just got some absolutely amazing stuff, and even some of the big city cinemas at the moment. Sadly, the scalpers have got on and selling these things for $200 and $300 already on eBay. But that big giant Battle Cat, I would love to put that in my collection. It's a popcorn bucket. And there's been a few of my friends on the Facebook pages and whatever that have ended up with those, so which is pretty cool, and good on you guys. And just sad to see the scalpers, while this movie's still out there, these people have got them on at $250 and $300, and I don't know if they're selling them, but they're trying to sell them for that price. And I would love to get my hands on one, but not going to be paying that. You can almost get a pretty decent sized, detailed, scaled Battle Cat statue if you're going to pay $300. It's not a popcorn bucket. But anyway, interesting choice for Battle Cat for the popcorn bucket, but it was amazing. The toys were good. I mentioned it in my last video. The toys were cheap, which was the best thing about it. I thought that was so cool that you could pick up Motu for $12 to $14 for a figure, a little bit more for some of the larger figures. Totally cool. I think that's within most kids' pocket money price range if they've got pocket money, or for the adult collectors out there, maybe haven't even collected for 40 years. I obviously buy and sell a lot of toys and have been collecting for a long time and do collect, but there's some people there that this movie might just have rekindled, and they can go to those shelves, and for that $12 or $14 they can pull He-Man off the shelf, and maybe Skeletor. They can sit them up there and remind them of the days that once were. So I think they did really well there with the pricing of those toys, rather than making them $40, $50, $60 and out of touch for people, particularly when they're struggling at the moment as far as dollars are concerned. So anyway, there's my nearly 18-minute review on that one, complete with spoilers. If you got to the end of it, then leave me a thumbs up just to show me that you got to the end of it, because I honestly don't believe anyone got to the end of it. Anyway, thanks heaps, and yeah, we'll catch you on the next one. That's the review, spoiler review for Masters of the Universe. I'll do a toy talk for you very shortly as well. I've got a few things I want to show you. A pickup that I've just managed to get this week, which is amazing, secondhand, a beautiful big Lego, not really into Lego, but this is a Lego Technics Land Rover Defender. The car itself is about that big by about that big. It's huge, comes with a big box, and it's absolutely awesome. And my A-Team figures have already taken up residence in that particular vehicle. So I'll do a bit of a review, show you guys that one, and got a few questions to ask as well about collecting as we continue to talk about the hobby we love. Just want you to remember one thing: whether you're 14 or 114, please do not stop collecting just because you're getting older. Give yourself permission to play again. If it's that figure that you want, go out and get it. If it's that video game you want to play, what do they say? We don't stop playing games because we get old. We get old because we stop playing games. Toys are the same. Give yourself permission to play again, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.